congratulations on the film. Let me ask you, how important has been for your career as a filmmaker the Sundance International Film Festival? If you can include the question, because we don't use narration.
Yeah, I can't overstate how important Sundance has been for my career. You know, when I had a short in there in 2010, the Ascher, I was probably at a stage in my career where I was ready to give up and try to find, you know, a straight job. But, you know, I had been, you know, making shorts and things for well over a decade, maybe two. And then, you know, 2 years later, I was able to get 237 there, you know, which was a movie largely made, you know, at home on nights and weekends. And it managed to break out, and you know, that's really where my career started. You know, without Sundance, without Sundance, I would be, you know, in a cubicle somewhere.
How important was it for you, the recognition that you got with Room 237 all over the world?
It was, you know, it was unbelievable and really flattering, because again, the recognition I got for 237, you know, internationally blew my mind, because, you know, I had been trying one thing after another for years that never got any traction. And, you know, going from Sundance to Cannes was an absolutely surreal experience, you know, and also just a huge amount of fun.
Does it feel very different for you to have to open Glitch in the Matrix during a pandemic, considering that you're used to walk the red carpet or the non-carpet, but you're used to go and talk about the movie and be there and communicate?
I mean, it's a little disappointing not to be able to, you know, premiere The Glitch in person, because, you know, it's so much fun, and, you know, it's actually, you get that visceral reaction right away. You can hear the audience, you know, as they watch the movie, and see the look in the eye during the Q&A. And this is going to be a whole different thing, but, you know, on one hand, since this movie is about being stuck in screens in virtual worlds, it's probably better suited for a sort of virtual premiere than certainly anything I've ever done, but, you know, maybe most other movies.
So, Rodney, are we right now in a simulated world, you and I? Or
well, we're talking to each other. We're certainly talking to each other in a simulated world. You know, I'm fairly confident that you're a real person, but I'm experiencing you as nothing but colored pixels moving about on my screen.
I'm a real person, but the background is fake. It's not real. But I thought it was, for me, it's like a philosophical thriller. I learned so much from the movie. I mean, it's very, very rich visually, and also the content. How important was it for you to make all these concepts accessible to the majority of people? I'm not an expert on theories like that, but I really enjoyed it. So there was something for everybody, I guess.
Well, thanks. And, you know, making these, you know, kind of big philosophical ideas accessible to, you know, to an audience was what was important to me. You know, there's versions of this idea that get very technical and scientific, and not only do I not completely understand them myself, but, you know, what I found most interesting and what I hoped would be easier for an audience to connect with were the human stories about how an obsession with this idea of an unreal world could, you know, affect these characters' lives.
So would you say, maybe I'm wrong, would you say that the world is divided by people who are conformist and people who want to change things?
Is the world divided by conformists and people who want to change things? Well, I mean, sure. I mean, there's 1,000 pairs. You know, there's 1,000 ways that you can divide the world. You know, I suppose. I mean, this movie asks. You know, a lot of the characters in this movie are wondering whether other people are in fact real, right? And they introduce the notion of the non-player character, which is someone that you don't interact with, who is controlled more or less, you know, by the computer. You know, I think a movie, you know, the movie metaphor of that are extras, whether you're talking about, you know, the people in the frame who aren't played by movie stars, or when you're on the set of a production, you know, and they're often herded to, you know, different waiting areas and different catering than the A team. It's awfully cruel to think that the world is really divided like that. And, you know, in my mind's eye, you know, everyone is the star of their own movie.